Alright everybody, buckle up, we're taking a warp tunnel to Agario, or Agar.io, was a quasi-multiplayer cell game with simple mechanics. Eat things to get big and space to split apart. So naturally, it took over the entire world. It spawned an almost entirely new genre of multiplayer browser games, defined by their simple mechanics and distinct lack of player communication. The only way to communicate in most of these games was by changing your name to some short message like team. This lack of communication is important because it turned these games into a weird pseudo-online experience. You were playing with real people, yeah, but if you weren't told, you wouldn't have even known. Many .io games have been called out for using fake players to emulate the online .io experience, notably with mobile versions for whatever reason. But after playing some of them, it's pretty hard to tell, and in my opinion it doesn't hinder the experience at all. The issue was in the advertising. They called themselves online games when they weren't, I know that, but my point isn't that they aren't at fault, it's that the feeling you got when playing actual online .io games was no different from playing with just bots. With the coming of time and the mutations of this new .io genre, different experimental developers created their own visions using this format. There are way too many to cover, so for the interest of time...
Here you go, Patrick!
Whoa! A wristwatch!
And to keep this video on track, I'll only talk about Sydney made a bunch of games, but something that is unique to most of them is the ability to chat.
You really smell like
Whether it be server chat, messages, or what have you. There were other .io games that you could chat in, but I'm only going to focus on his. Specifically, for the first one of importance, we need to take another warp tunnel to... Verdix had a server chat. This sounds super trivial, but is really important because with the ability to communicate, Verdix fostered a community. While the success of many .io games came from big YouTubers making videos and lots of people playing the game from all around the world, Verdix was a success because it had a small community of devoted players. Though with time and with a drought of updates, even the most devoted followings to a purely online game will eventually fall to pieces. This is where I personally enter the story. I started playing Verdix when the well of players was already starting to dry up around middle 2016 if I had to guess. Why this didn't stop me from spending hundreds, probably thousands of hours, if I'm being brutally honest with myself on this old .io game, I really don't know. And anyway, the next stop on our warp tunnel is... we can stop that now. Carnage was a game that almost no one played and no one paid any attention to, on account of the game smelling like gasoline on a crate next to a school of small children. In 2018, Sydney created Krunker, presumably out of an old engine he made for a 3D game long ago, but nevertheless is put into closed beta. How I got the super secret closed beta link is, a secret, but soon after, I was added to a Discord group about beta testing Krunker. Anyway, during this time, Krunker was really only known to what remained of the Verdix community and the skeleton of the Carnage community and probably some other people. It was small, very small, and it soon molded itself into its open beta version. This open beta version received a lot of attention.
A first-person shooter.io game? That's incredible!
But soon the novelty of it being an FPS.io game wore off, and people were just left with the game and its mechanics, which were great. The game soon gained popularity from schools and children and YouTubers specializing in Krunker. Krunker wasn't a game for the YouTube community to do with some one-off to gain popularity, it was its own community. Krunker's player count rose higher and higher. The mapping tool was used to great effect. Games need mapping tools for a myriad of reasons, but in Krunker's case, where there are few developers and the maps are fundamentally just blocks and ramps, the mapping tool was an incredible tool. Using the mapping tool, even niche communities within Krunker formed, like racing, focusing solely on movement and parkour. With how versatile the mapping tool was, brand new game experiences could be forged out of small bugs and mechanics like wall running. Sound familiar? Also, I personally invented and coined the term wall running way back when Krunker was in open beta, and that does mean, yes, I made the first parkour map to use wall running. So now every film member that has ever made a map now owes me hundreds of dollars for every map that uses my copyrighted game mechanic.
That's the joke, lads.
Fun gameplay, interesting and smooth movement, soon enough there were people looking for some sort of Krunker esports. And Sydney, took this chance. Its professional competitive community still small, but it existed, and that was huge. Imagine you're in 2015, playing Agario. There's no way you could ever think that a game spawned by this could have any professional competitive community at all. The community as a whole grew larger and larger, reaching soaring new heights. However, at this point, Krunker was at a weird crossroad. Does it attempt to follow a more competitive-orientated road, or a more silly childlike .io road? Well, Krunker chose both. You'd think that people like this couldn't take a game like Krunker seriously, and you'd be absolutely right, they didn't, and they played it because they thought it was funny until they realized that, oh shit, this game's cool. The game added an actual competitive mode, something I played a shit ton of whenever I could, and even creating my own competitive clan. The core gameplay, even in pubs, was left intentionally very competitive in nature. You played to win, and with one update, the game changed forever for the better. I wasn't around to see it, but somewhere along this rise, sliding became a thing accessible to all players, regardless of their CPU. This again was awesome, because as the silliness brought people in, they stayed because of the awesome movement mechanics that were now open to them and not hidden behind a tight-knit pro community. I joke a ton about sliding, mostly because of how interesting and funny it is to me just how fast you can go in this game, but no mistake, I really love sliding. I remember someone saying that Krunker would have a hard time getting a foot in as an esport because the game is by design child-friendly and pretty clunky, and is just kind of ugly in general, so it being a spectator sport would be hard. And no, I definitely agree, it's ugly. And they'd have a point in this if it weren't for this stupid sliding mechanic. Watching pro players is now entertaining and fun. Moreover, people that see competitive Krunker don't see, oh,
CSGO Minecraft.
no, they see skillful movement, because even though they don't know how it works, the magnitude of Krunker sliding is so off the rails, they know that to do it, it must take at least some skill. The modding community, map community, parkour community, trickshot community, competitive community, all these and more are just variables to Krunker's rising success and fame. This game defied all odds. It broke free from being just a .io game. It isn't defined at all by what defined .io games only half a century earlier. It's risen above all of that. And, well, that brings us to today, and future speculation. Do I think Krunker could ever become a more popular spectator esport? Well, I love this game, I really do, but after brooding upon the subject for longer than I probably needed to, I can really only answer with, yeah, I really do think I can. Sydney has showed he wants this esport to grow, and if developers are willing to throw money at it, I seriously think that any game could become a popular esport. People say that it being a game with a large kid audience will prevent it from being a popular esport, as if that literally has ever stopped a game before. So if the competitive community grows up to be a big boy, will I go back to playing Krunker competitively ever again? Well, probably not. I enjoy Krunker pubs. When I said the gameplay was intentionally left competitive in nature, I meant that you played to win. There are no conga lines in the middle of the game, people played in Krunker pubs to win the game. This is good, but I like playing games casually. I know, I'm a filthy casual. I wasn't always, and there's still a lot that Krunker has to offer, especially with things like crossbows and trick shots. When I used to play Krunker, mainly after 360s were removed and I was left mostly playing competitively, I would find myself not only getting better, but also getting angrier at losing. I wouldn't lash out and chat or anything, but I would notice myself getting angry or bummed out when I lost. Eventually I came to a point where I rarely ever lost, humble brag, I know, and this to me was boring. I'm not nearly as good as I was at Krunker, and making that climb to perfectionism again, with all the anger it put me through, is something I'd honestly really rather avoid. This obviously isn't an issue with Krunker or its players, it's a me problem. So for the foreseeable future, I'll be sticking with dicking around in casual pubs and playing TF2. Okay, so this is just going to be an update on me. I leave a lot on this YouTube channel, mainly because I lose and regain interest in Krunker, and I see this channel as a Krunker-specific channel. I actually make different videos on different subjects that I'm not uploading here. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because I want to make videos about other games as well, including just topics about gaming as a whole. I've tried making videos about different games for this channel, but whatever I do, I get this weird fucking feeling I can only describe as guilt. Anyway, I'll try and get over that feeling, and if I do, I'll try and post different stuff too. No, this doesn't mean, by the way, that I'll stop posting Krunker content, it just means that there'll probably be some other stuff in there too.